What's up, guys? Thank you for tuning in to the BS Show. One of the major questions in the MMA world right now is what happens next for the notorious Conor McGregor. It looks like and sounds like surgery went smooth. It looks like he's going to make a full recovery. And even though I'm not a Conor McGregor fan, I do wish him well, and I hope everything goes well in his recovery. But the major question that I have, and which seems to be all over the news and in the MMA podcasts, is what's next for Conor McGregor? Where does he go from here? Does he stay at 155? Does he move up to 170? Does he go back down to 145? If you're Conor McGregor, what do you do? Well, I don't really know, and I don't think anybody knows. Luckily for Conor McGregor, he's a huge draw with a big name, and everybody likes to see him fight. It's no surprise that he's the biggest draw in the UFC world and the MMA world in general. The numbers clearly show it. When he fights, people tune in, people buy the pay-per-views, and people go batshit crazy to watch this dude fight. His weigh-ins are even record-breaking. But I'm here to tell you guys right now, this is my opinion, I do not think Conor McGregor is ever going to be the Conor McGregor of old. He's still going to have the trash talk. He's still going to have the one-liners. He's still going to make the headlines. But as far as what he does in the octagon, I do not think it will ever be the same. My first reason is this is an injury that's very, very tough to come back from. We saw Anderson Silva do the same thing, essentially, around the same injury, and he was never quite the same. He still had big-time fights, he still had a few wins sprinkled in there, but he just never looked the same. It has to do something with your mindset when your leg's been snapped in half, that, am I going to throw the kick? Should I not throw the quick kick? You start questioning yourself, and it just seems like the fighter's never the same. My second thing is the gap between Conor McGregor and all these other fights have closed tremendously, and I think these fighters have surpassed him. When you're rich and when you're famous and when you have hundreds of $1 million to play with, I just don't think you're as motivated. I think it's a lot harder to wake up every day and get to the gym and train jiu-jitsu, train your striking, and train your wrestling the way you once did. Conor McGregor is by far the richest fighter in the world. He was on the #1 Forbes list, for Pete's sake. So I think that has to play something in Conor McGregor's psyche. You know, these fighters like Dustin Poirier have closed the gap tremendously because over the past 4 or 5 years, when Conor McGregor's fighting once or twice, these guys are fighting 3, 4, 5, and 6 times. They're constantly in the gym, they're sharpening their skills, and they're getting better day in and day out. So the mixture between the injury and the guys around him getting better, I don't think we're going to see Conor McGregor at what he once was. And my third and final reason why Conor McGregor is never going to be what he once was is because this dude is too big to fail. And when I say Conor McGregor is too big to fail, that means every fight that he gets, the UFC purely means for this to be a sellable fight. They're not going to give him a scrub. They're not going to give him some no-namer that he can just run over. They are going to give him a top 10, top 5 champion, former champion caliber fighter. And that's very tough in itself. So if you're Conor McGregor and you lose to Dustin Poirier, what do? Do you fight Poirier again? Do you fight Justin Gaethje? Do you fight Khabib? Do you fight Tony Ferguson? Who do you fight? I don't know who you fight because I don't like any of those fights if I'm Conor McGregor. But you know the UFC brass for sure is not going to give him a nobody. And I feel these fighters have finally caught on to what Conor McGregor is. He's a sprinter. He sprints at you in the first round, and he tries to hit you with that left hand, and he's trying to knock you out so he can be done. And it has shown time and time again, if you can weather the storm of Conor McGregor in the first round, your chances of getting beat significantly drops. Conor McGregor does not knock people out after the first round, and I would be curious to see the statistics of what happens in the second and third rounds. I don't even know if Conor McGregor has a knockout. I'm sure he does in the second and third rounds, but I do know it falls off a cliff as far as what his production is in the knockout category. I'm not saying Conor McGregor's not going to be around. I'm not saying Conor McGregor's not going to get some wins, but I don't think the smack talk and the aura of Conor McGregor and the Mystic Mac is is ever going to be the same. He can talk the talk and he can walk the walk, but whenever he does not show out in the octagon, people are going to start to say, it just doesn't feel right anymore. It was cool when you were calling your shot, but now you're calling your shot and nothing's coming to fruition. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below, guys. Will Conor ever be the same, or is this the beginning of the end? Thank you for tuning in.